Hello, and welcome to the Cook Memorial Public Library podcast, where we invite you to spend just a few minutes with the staff at Cook Library. I'm Lindsay Barber Petticourt, and I'm here today with one of our reference librarians, Sonia, who is our genealogy librarian, and she is here today to talk about genealogy at the library. So welcome to the podcast, Sonia.
Thanks, Lindsay. I'm glad to be here.
I have to be honest. When somebody comes into the library and asks about getting started with genealogy, my heart starts racing quite a bit, just because I worry that even I won't know what to do. I know we have a lot of resources here at the library to help people get started doing genealogy. So because I have that slight anxiety, I thought we'd talk to you about what resources we have for getting pretty much anybody started who wanted to start researching their family history. So, if somebody comes to you and says they want to start tracing their family's history, how do you help them get started?
Well, there are probably about 3 principles that I would try to make sure they understand. And the first one is to start with yourself.
Okay.
I think a lot of people, might have heard that they had this great ancestor who fought in the Civil War, and they want to jump right there and start, what battle was he in? Was he wounded? Did he fight well? That kind of thing. But you can make a lot of mistakes jumping in like that. So to go about it a little more methodically, the idea is to start with yourself and write down everything you know about yourself and your parents and then your grandparents, which leads to the second principle, which is working backwards in time.
Okay.
And also working from the known to the unknown. So you might know when your grandparents died, but you don't know when they were married. Finding some records about their death might lead to birth or marriage information.
Okay. That makes sense.
And that leads to the third principle, which is the things that we kind of collect, at least starting out in genealogy, are names and dates and places. So for each person in your family tree, you should have a full name to know who they were, to know the dates that they were born, married, if they were, and the dates that they died, if they have died yet, and also the places that each one of those 3 events took place in.
Okay.
So once you get started researching that, then you kind of, each additional fact that you find can also have clues that will lead you farther back. At least that's the idea.
Yes.
But the best thing to do is to verify each one of those facts and not just take it on, somebody's word that, Grandpa was born on this date, back in the old country or whatever. But you need to find a document, something official that proves that.
Okay.
And so as you collect these documents relating to names, dates, and places, you'll start getting clues on parents, grandparents, and that kind of thing.
Right.
So it moves you back.
Little breadcrumbs to help you move along. So for help verifying some of those stories, like your great-grandfather's birth date or birth location, where would you suggest people start looking for those types of documents? Are there a lot of places they can look?
Yes, there are. What we're looking for are called vital records.
Okay.
The records on birth, marriage, and death. Those are kind of the 3 big events in a person's life that we start out by looking for. And those are usually recorded, at least in the last 100 years or so, in an official place. So either by a county or by a state. So if someone was born in Lake County, their birth record would be held at the county courthouse and also filed with the state.
Okay.
So those would be 2 places that you could get copies of that. We're also finding that, of course, Ancestry.com is the online database that everybody knows about.
Right.
And they are collecting more and more vital records that you can access through their database. And there's another place called FamilySearch.org, which is probably just as important as Ancestry as far as researching your history. And they also have vital records, the bricks and mortar archives, the online databases. Sometimes you might have certificates at home in family papers.
Oh, okay.
People keep their marriage certificates or their or death certificate or whatever. Right. So you might actually have those documents in your own house.
Oh, that makes sense. Start with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the vital records are obviously as their name indicates, very vital to doing
Exactly.
Your family history research. Is there anything else you would direct people to look into?
Yes, I would say that besides the vital records, the next thing that I try to steer people towards is looking through census records.
Oh, okay.
Because you can almost always find an ancestor in the census, and that's kind of a boost to be able to see your parents or your grandparents enumerated in the census with the rest of their family in a certain place. And the census, depending on the year it was taken, will also give more clues to a person's life. It will tell how old they were. Some censuses will ask how many children a mother has had and how many are still living.
Oh.
So if there's a discrepancy between those two numbers, that's a clue that there was a baby that died. Also, some censuses have citizenship status, so they'll say whether or not they're a citizen or what they call an alien or non-citizen. Another question that is often asked in the census is when someone immigrated to the United States.
Oh, okay.
Which most of us have immigrant ancestors at some point, and that's kind of like one of those really fun things to find out: is when did great-grandpa come over? What boat did he come in on, and who came with him? So,
that gives you another whole avenue of research to go down at some point.
Exactly. If you start collecting census records, and again, starting with 1940, which is the most recent census available, and working your way back, you can get a pretty cool picture of a family and lots of clues along the way for further research.
Okay. That sounds really kind of fun to look through.
It is. It's like being a family history detective.
Yeah. I know I've seen some census records that even ask like what their jobs were. So you get even more, like the day-to-day life details you don't get from the vital records. Would you recommend that people use Ancestry to mainly search for census records?
Yes, Ancestry is probably the best and easiest, although Family Search also has a lot of census records online, and FamilySearch.org is a free website, so you don't have to have a subscription.
Great.
The library has a subscription to Ancestry.com.
Okay, good.
It's called Ancestry Library Edition. We make it available on our computers in the library, but you can't use it from home.
Right, but it's free to use here in the library.
Absolutely.
For anybody.
For anybody.
Okay.
All you do is come and sit down at the computers, and there you go. You can start using that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, free to use.
Yes.
Very good.
We like free to use. In addition to all those wonderful records that are out there, census and vital records, we are a library, and we do house quite a few books. Are there any books here that you would direct people towards? I know we have a local history and genealogy collection here at the library.
We do.
Do you have some recommendations or some general books that you guide people towards?
We have several that are kind of beginning books. First, let me make a distinction. We do have books in the genealogy collection that you can check out.
Okay.
And then there are many more that are, we call them genealogy reference books that are here in the library. But the beginning ones, I would say, are the ones that you can check out. And the one that I usually try to recommend, even though it's a little older, is called Unpuzzling Your Past.
Okay.
It gives a really good basic outline of how to go about starting genealogy. But then we also have books like Genealogy for Dummies or Genealogy Online for Dummies and a few other basic beginner ones too.
Okay.
There's a lot more to the circulating collection than that. We have books on researching specific ethnic groups or researching specific places, like if your family came from Germany or Poland. We have books on that too that once you get into those more specialized areas, you kind of do need a little more guidance and need to educate yourself more. So that's what those books are all about.
Okay. That's awesome. So we have stuff for people who are just getting started and then people who are a little bit more advanced, a little bit further along in their research. So we're here to help every step of the way.
Exactly.
As much as we can. So in addition to our online resources, and we have the books here, we also offer some classes, right?
Oh, yes, we do.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Lots of different classes. And these have kind of grown over the years. So I'll just go ahead and kind of lay out some of the things we have. A few are recurring. On the first Thursday of every month, we have our Genealogy networking group, which is kind of an informal group. We share information between ourselves, and we usually have about 15 or 20 people who come, different levels, different questions, different needs, but it's just kind of a fun networking group to get through or to attend. We also have what we call our Independent Genealogy Research Lab, which is on the last Thursday morning of the month. And that is a time for people to just come and use our computers or bring their laptops if they like and kind of work on their own genealogy at their own pace, whatever they're doing. And we do have the other genealogy expert in the library, Ellen, is here, and she kind of facilitates that.
Oh, great. So there's somebody to kind of help answer questions.
Yep. Guide along, give suggestions, bounce ideas off of. That lasts for about 2 hours, and that's great. That's fun. We also have ladies from the DAR, the Daughters of the American Revolution, who come on the second Wednesday morning of every month, and they kind of set up shop in our lower level and will help people do their research if they're interested in joining the DAR, or even if they just have genealogy questions. They're very helpful too. Then we also have some educational programs where we, the librarian or the staff at the library, are presenting the information to the people who are coming. We have coming up in January our annual Genealogy 101 program. So if you want to delve a little more into what I spoke about earlier in the podcast, that will be on January 13th, which is a Saturday at 9:30 at Aspen.
That sounds like a pretty good way to get started.
Yes. Yeah. And it's a little interactive too. We can take questions. We also try to have about 2 or 3 speakers, well, maybe one speaker a month from outside to come in and speak on a particular topic. We've had people speak on how to research a particular ethnic group or how to research military ancestors. This spring coming up, we're going to have a program on January 18th about researching living relatives on how to connect with people who are still, your cousins. Right. And how to find those people. And then in February, we're going to have a speaker come in and talk about how to do sound research and cite your sources and to not make the mistakes that most of us say, oh, I wish I had done that when I started out.
Oh, okay. So learn from others' mistakes.
Right.
I like that.
Do the good research, cite your sources, make sure you've covered your tracks. So we rely a lot on experts then to come in and give us the benefit of their knowledge. So the library provides those speakers. Then the other thing that we're doing this winter and spring, which is fun, is called our Genealogy Academy. Oh. And this is a little more interactive. This is like taking a class. We do them one Saturday a month, and each class is on a different topic. So we're starting out on February 10th at 9:30. We're going to have our first academy on ancestry. People will come, and we have laptops set up, or you can bring your own. And we'll actually have hands-on experience where either Ellen or myself will give some instruction, show you how to do things on the database, and then give people time to play and research themselves. Oh, cool. We'll do ancestry, we'll do family search, we'll talk about how to research in newspapers, and we'll talk about other free websites that you can use. I think those are our 4 coming up over the winter and spring. In 2018.
That sounds like it'll start people off on the right foot. They'll know exactly where to go from there.
And then I've got one more group that we have that meets just every other month. We have a small writers group that meets. After you do all this research, you want to put it into a form that will be interesting to other people. Right. Most people are not too excited about a family tree.
Some people are, but yes, most are probably not.
It's the stories and the pictures that will get your relatives interested in their own family. So we talk about how to write. We share our writing with other people, and we just get together every other month and talk about that. But it's fun. So it's kind of we hope that at the library we're offering a full spectrum of programs and opportunities for genealogists to learn and to do and to produce, people will really get into genealogy, do it well, and be able to share it with their family.
Right. It sounds like we're definitely on the right path with that.
Yeah, we're trying. We're trying. And we're always open to new ideas, too. So sometimes people might have a suggestion.
Oh, yeah.
For instance, we just recently, in November, took sort of a field trip, a bus trip to the Newberry Library, which is something that people had asked about a lot. The Newberry Library is in Chicago, and it's a big research library, public library, but research-oriented, and has a lot of things available for genealogists. So due to popular demand, we put together this bus trip and took about 20 people down to the Newberry and let them do their research down there. So, yeah, we try to accommodate what people are asking about, too.
Right. That's very good to know. So I know we talked a lot about genealogy in this podcast, but you and I normally work a desk shift together, and we ask each other what we're reading. So I thought I would ask you, what are you reading right now?
So I just finished reading a really incredible book by a local author called White Like Her by Gail Lukasik. I think she was in another podcast.
Yes, we did do another podcast with her.
We feel connected to her in the genealogy realm because when she was researching her family, she would contact the library for help in getting books or for going over her research, but testing theories. So as soon as she came and talked, I bought her book and just had to read it. And it's such an incredible story of family research, of what you can find and how you can embrace who you are, who your family was. There's a lot of heavy topics in that, but I just thought it was a great book and I really enjoyed it. So
yeah, it's a pretty great story.
Yes, I'm recommending it to everybody.
Well, good. I'm sure Gail appreciates that too.
Yes.
Well, if listening to Sonia talk about the resources we had here at the library got you excited to get started with genealogy, you are welcome to come on in and see what we have. You can also set up an appointment with one of our genealogy librarians, Sonia or Ellen, who will help get you started. You can also take a look at our library's genealogy site at cooklib.org/genealogy, where you can find all the links that we have to different resources and information about setting up an appointment with one of our librarians. While you're on our site, don't forget to stop by our library blog, where we share local history, genealogy tips, and lots of book and movie recommendations. Our blog can be found at shelflife.cooklib.org. And finally, if you liked our podcast, help spread the word and leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts. We'll be back soon, but until then, keep reading, keep watching, and keep listening.